Alrighty, fellas, who's ready to get this Dissects Friday started? Alright, let's go. Quick notice, I still have not come up with a nicer looking format for this, so we're going with the good old-fashioned desktop capture. But anyways, how's it going? Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to DS Dissects. How is it going? Let me just pull up some nice imagery in the meantime while we're waiting and use the handy little F11 command that y'all helped me with last time and get this started. So yeah, how is Friday going for everyone? I've tried to put on what's it called? I've put on ultra low latency mode for YouTube, so I was trying to get as much in-person interaction on YouTube as possible. Hopefully it turns out alright. Let me just make sure it is. Stream settings. It should be ultra low latency. I hope. So hopefully I'm not like years late to answer your questions. Friday's going pretty well. Alright. Sounds good, Tim. Anybody else? Or are we just chilling? I'm ready to get this show on the road. Personally, my Friday's been like pretty working off of 5 hours of sleep just because I may or may not have been a little irresponsible last night, but that's fine. We're fine. I managed to survive classes today, and it's all that matters. YouTube is only 2 to 3 seconds delayed. Alright. Actually, no, I want to do a quick test. No, wait, I can't do a quick test. Never mind. That's because yeah, Tim knows this because he's on Twitch and he's on YouTube. So if there's just a 2 to 3 second delay between Twitch and YouTube, I think that'll be fine. That'll be pretty good. Anyway, yeah, let's not keep this party waiting. Let's get the show on the road. So yeah, today we'll be looking at Crimson Sunset from the Final Fantasy XIV piano collections. Which, first of all, for the second DS Dissect, this is a pretty interesting. Let's go, Tim Willett. Hey, Levi, how's it going? Good to see you. Anyways, so yeah, for the second DS Dissect, this is gonna be an interesting one because this one's not my arrangement. This one is like an official, like Square Enix sanctioned piano collections, which is actually really interesting because usually you think of Final Fantasy piano collections like, oh, it's this one book accompanied by one set of recordings, and you can just buy the sheet music or buy the recordings or buy both. But Final Fantasy XIV is interesting because since it's like an MMO that's constantly being updated, they're also constantly updating their piano collections. So technically, it's not finished, and that's even more. It's been even more apparent through the newest when they announced the Endwalker expansion. They also announced a new arrangement album that'll be coming out with it called like Scions and Sinners or something weird and edgy like that, which will feature 4 new piano collections arrangements. So they're technically still adding on new tracks to the piano collection. There's something like 24 tracks already. It's absolutely bonkers, and there's so many good quality tracks. But the problem with that is that there's literally no sheet music anywhere. So this took a while because transcribing it was hard, but I'll get to that later. I want maximum dissection of this tune. Yes, we're gonna get surgical up in this joint. But actually, yeah, so before I go and talk about, I'll talk a bit more about the Final Fantasy XIV piano collections a bit later. But first, let's talk about the song. So this song is from the Stormblood expansion, which is their second expansion, I think, and it featured this town called Kugane. Now look at this. Look at this beautiful place. I actually had a little picture of it in the background where you saw like the flute player, Gamer of the Winds, in their background had part of this scenery, and because it's just a nice looking location. It's got this really very classical like Eastern Oriental style. You got the pagodas, you got the bridges and the things and the gosh, I don't know what the official name for it, but you got that like Japanese Renaissance sort of market vibe to it, and it's got a really good aesthetic to it. Transcribing by ear is fun. Oh, believe me, it's definitely something, and I'll go into more in depth of it in a bit. But yeah, as you can see, the track is supposed to accompany like this You know how in Sonic Unleashed, how they have like two different forms of every song? They have the daytime and the nighttime. Well, a similar thing happens with Crimson Sunset. You have Crimson Sunrise, and then there's Crimson Sunset. And Crimson Sunset plays during like the nighttime variations of these places. So let me play the original track real quick, just so y'all can get a quick taste. And you hear that like, what's it called? Kyoto? That like sort of oriental like classical harp sound. I forgot what the instrument's called. And you see all the vibes. It's got this very oriental vibe to it. And I don't want to sound like stereotypical, but like this is definitely what they're going for. At least in the scenery. Hold up, did I crash? Hold up, nope, that's not it, that's not it. Come on, let me get back to OBS. What's happening? What's happening? I think playing its video at 720p kind of made me crash. Are we good? Hello? Are we back? Everything is frozen? Gosh dang it. Apparently Final Fantasy hold up. Things working now? Maybe if we wait long enough, we'll be blessed with a third frame. Now it's going. Okay, are we sure about that? Testing. I want to just I want to make sure we're not dying here. Uh-oh, that's not good. Let me just... It looks like my internet is sort of crapping itself right now, so let me see if I can turn down the bitrate. Video bitrate is currently at 2500. Hold on, wait. Before I change anything, how is the quality right now? Just want to get... Twitch kicked you to 160p. Oh my gosh. Also, NC, how's it going? Glad to see you here. Alright. Anyone else? Should I just keep going? Should I try to... I've never been less sure of anything in my life. Give me some. Just give me something. Is the stream working fine? Because the preview on YouTube's working fine. Let me actually check on Twitch. Very sorry for technical delays. Alright, I think it is doing fine, so I'm going to attempt to get back into it. Keyword being attempt. So what happened there is that apparently... Seems like it's pretty good on here. Okay, that's good. So apparently trying to watch a video in 720p made my computer just made my internet connection absolutely like crap itself. I'm just gonna hope for the best at this point. Alright. Cool. Let's try it out again. Okay, so let me play a little bit of the track again. Oh, oops, that's the wrong window. I'm trying to full screen this. Now it's in 480p, so hopefully it won't crash. Nice and calm, relaxing, like night music. Good stuff. Do live speed test, lol. And if you listen to the cover, you probably recognize this piano bit. It's very similar, at least for the beginning part, but then like later in the arrangement, it gets like absolutely crazy. And you hear the little like background harp elements, which happened in the piano arrangement. Oh, I'm not gonna play the entire track, but you can hear how like the song like it complements the setting very well. It used in multiple different ways. It complements an instrumentation, which you hear like those like native Japanese like what are they called? Kodos, whatever they're called. I'm so sorry that I don't know the name of these amazing instruments, but I'm just uncultured. And also complements the setting in terms of the musicality. There's lots of use of the pentatonic scale within this track, which is like the scale. It's the pentatonic scale is a scale that goes like starting on C, B, C, D, E, G, A, and that scale. As much as I hate to say it like this, it's definitely given the vibe of the Oriental scale. Because, you know, if you play all the black keys on the piano, you'll play a scale that sounds Eastern. Even though that's a way hideous oversimplification of it. But that's the general gist of the pentatonic scale. And this piece encapsulates it too. It's in the key of C sharp major, which is basically all the black keys on the piano. And, that helps lend itself to being more easily playable, at least by pianists, and also getting a nice tone for the pentatonic scale and complementing the scenery. But enough about the original track. Let's go to... that's the wrong button. So now let's show off the actual Piano Collections version, which is a sort of simplified arrangement. It takes all the instrument. It kind of simplifies the instrumentation of the original, which had like a bunch of like native instruments, and compresses it down to just shakuhachi and flute. Not shakuhachi and flute. Shakuhachi and piano. Pentatonic is the magic scale. It works with everything. Why is my video giving me no audio? Hold up, I gotta refresh this real quick. What? No, I didn't mean to look up that. Oh, I had no volume on, that's why. Gosh, I'm so dumb. So this was performed... Apparently there was some sort of Final Fantasy XIV concert in Japan or something, and they played some of the arrangements from their Journeys album, which the Journeys album was basically their arrangement album for... I think it was for Stormblood? Lower the bitrate to 2499, it'll really help. Yes, the one less bit. And, oh gosh, shakuhachi just sounds so good. That's it's like... the original instrument that they played in the Piano Collection. Oh, that's Keiko. Right there, that's Keiko. The arranger for all the Final Fantasy XIV Piano Collections. And yeah, this was played in their Journeys album, which is their arrangement album for Stormblood. Like how they have the Sky Hunt and Sinners arrangement album coming out for Endwalker. And you can hear how they take like the very melancholic, very slow-paced, methodical vibes of the original and translate it just to like the piano playing like those background percussive elements versus shakuhachi is playing the melody. Hirajoshi scale, the Hirajoshi pentatonics. I am not familiar with Hirajoshi, if I even pronounce that right. You gotta let me know about that sometime. I'd be interested to hear. And this is basically one for one with the original. You have the piano playing. Actually, fun fact: this video is dubbed. What the pianist is playing isn't actually what's on the recording, and I can show you a little bit of it later, which is funny, where the video and the audio don't match. But it's close enough. It's close enough. And I actually sort of used this video in order to help me transcribe this by ear, because if you sort of take a look at what the pianist is playing, it sort of helps you figure out what notes are happening in the recording. If you ever get a video of someone performing a piece that you have to transcribe, I feel like it's very useful. Especially for this section, like, look at... Like, without a visual, how was I supposed to know what the frick that scale was? But with the visual, it was a little easier to comprehend, like, what notes they're playing. And you got all these, like, majestic scales and stuff, which are, like, imitating the background instruments in the track, but I'll also get to that a little bit. But yeah, that's enough of that. This is basically the same exact range. I don't want to play the entire thing note for note. I just want to show real quick a funny moment of dub versus sub. Like, look at what she's doing. You see that slide? You see how she slid up and down the piano, but there was no slide in the actual audio? Look at this. That was a dub moment right there. Oh, is Twitch... Is Twitch shorting out again? You've done many of my transcriptions like that. Yeah, it's a good technique to be able to see what the person is playing and sort of see what notes they're doing. But yeah, that's a funny moment which shows like it's dubbed, but that doesn't really matter. It still looks, it's a great looking video and a great performance. Anyways, now let's get to the actual track and sort of like dig into some of these techniques that Keiko uses in order to add some intricacies to the arrangement. Alright, here we go. So, Stormblood from Final Fantasy 15 Stormblood, Crimson Sunset. Big logo, very cool. So first of all, finding a player to play the flute part was extremely difficult. Because first I was looking for a shakuhachi part, and the first person I looked for a shakuhachi never responded. The second person said they weren't comfortable enough to play shakuhachi in a solo. So I'm like, oh, I don't know any other shakuhachi players. They're like the two only shakuhachi players in the world that I know. So what do? I was like, oh. So then I looked up Gamer. So then Gamer the Winds is a guy I know. Known from YouTube, from Pixel Mixers for a while. I saw he did a performance at MagFest 2019. It was really good, and he said that he played shakuhachi. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I listened to some of his shakuhachi playing, and it was pretty good. And so I was like, oh, we can do this part. And so he looked at it, he's like, I don't feel like I'm comfortable enough with shakuhachi for this sort of like complexity of an arrangement, but I feel like I can get the same sort of vibe just playing on flute. Which I was like, alright, I'll send me a demo, send me something. And the way he managed to like put articulations and just like different accents on different notes and stuff, just the way he played it just sounds so good and very very respectful for the source material. Like you can hear some of like the what's it called? Some of the really fast grace notes and tremolos that he puts in and like pitch bends that emulate the shakuhachi very well, especially here in the beginning. Like Also the very slow, methodical vibrato. Like that little shrill trill right there, the view. It's like very reminiscent of the shakuhachi sound. Yeah, once again, thanks to Gamer of the Winds for helping me put this together. Make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/gamerofthewinds or GOT Wins. Yeah, check them out. Good. Anyway, let's go. Alright, right here. Very interesting. That part was pretty hard to transcribe just because there was so many notes like flying at you at once. But you know what I felt like putting here? Personally, I think what Keiko was playing was just the pentatonic scale in what key is this? Is that A major pentatonic scale? I forgot. But yeah, it's basically an A major. It's basically a pentatonic scale going down in little intervals, along with like perfect fifths, also going down, playing in a pentatonic scale, which very well encapsulates like the sort of scales that these Oriental like some of these Oriental instruments could only play so many notes on them, and so many notes per scale. They didn't have like the traditional 7-tone scale built into them, so having the pentatonic scale be representative of those more traditional instruments was a very nice emulation touch. Never heard a flute sound so much not like a flute. Yeah, basically. It's so very surreal and deep and soulful. Also here, I want to start introducing one technique in particular that Keiko uses that I found very interesting throughout the piece, and I thought helped lend the phrasing very well. And hi, how's it going, Xavier? Hope you're enjoying your day. Welcome to the stream. Oh, we got Levi redeeming an H in Twitch chat. Can we get H's? Can we get H's for Levi? H. So one thing I noticed that Keiko does is that she begins the next chord of the she basically begins the next measure half a beat before a measure starts. Like if there's a chord in the next measure, then sometimes a half beat before that measure she will play one of the notes from that chord in the bottom of the left hand in order to start like transitioning into that next chord a bit early. And she'll do that, like, here's one example. Like, notice how he's playing F sharp minor chord here, and the next chord is going to be G sharp minor. But one half beat before that measure starts, you see the left hand play that D sharp, which is technically not in the F sharp minor chord. It's the fifth of this G sharp minor chord, which, you know, a very the simplest of cadences is go from the fifth to the first in order to have that transition from one chord to another. So going from the fifth, the D sharp, to the G sharp in the next measure is sort of like a preemptive transition into the next chord. So you hear doo-doo, and by doing that, Keiko makes the phrasing keep flowing very smoothly, because there's lots of like static chords in this piece, and it can get boring just here listening to chord, just long chords. So by adding that little bit of tension right at the end of each measure, that tension that releases into the next measure with the chord that she's hinting toward, I feel like it's just a really interesting technique to use throughout the arrangement. Oh yeah, Greger's in this. Yeah, Gamer of the Winds did a really amazing job playing the flute like a shakuhachi. And you'll see this preemptive chord changes very frequently throughout the piece. Also, another technique, at least in the piece that I thought was really interesting, not necessarily the arrangement, this is just in the original piece. There's lots of mode mixture in here. Now, what mode mixture is basically means you're working with like two different scales or modes that are based around the same bass chord. So in this case, it's kind of simple. There's lots of transitions from C minor to C major, which adds a nice little like nice little orange tang to the piece, in my opinion. So like here you're expecting the piece to go back to C sharp minor, it has been going normally through the rest of the piece, but through this use of the C sharp sustain chord, that C sharp sustain chord, it can lead you back to C sharp minor, like normal, of course. But then you have that little grace note, da-dun, da-dun, which ends up resolving on a C sharp major chord, which I just thought was a really neat touch of using that. It's not called mode mixture. What's it called? There's an official term for it where like instead of resolving the minor, you resolve to major. I forgot what it's called. Oh, I know one person in my game symphony orchestra loves this sort of stuff, but I forgot what it's called. Let's see, so Levi's mentioning in Twitch chat how Gamer the Winds and him have a shameful history. Took several year break from clarinet. Gamer the Winds showed him a neat ligature to get. Levi got it, and it's been there for 3 years and you haven't used it. Well, it's never too late to pick up. Picardy third, that's what it is. Yes, thank you, King Gordon. That's exactly what it is. The Picardy third. And it's just, tasty. I love it so much. Especially with the use, since this Picardy third, it makes the E natural, the C sharp minor chord, makes it become an E sharp, which E sharp is a very interesting note. Wait, no, it's not Picardy third? Are you sure, Tim? I thought it was a Picardy third. Picardy's from minor, yeah, this went from C sharp minor to C sharp major. Do 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 do, with that E sharp. Unless that's what we just said, never mind, it's fine. Also, glad to see you around, Xavier. Hope you'll be able to stay around for more streams, and hope you'll enjoy this one. Also, another interesting thing that Keiko uses is a little bit of communication between the piano and the flute. So, like, there's places like here where the piano picks up on the melody, but the piano also like plays the same harmony that the flute is to add a sort of like dynamic synergy between them. So you see, like in the left hand, the right hand's playing the melody da 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 dun da dun da dun, and then the left hand plays the flute's da 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 da. Wait, no, that wasn't the left hand. That was the left part of the right hand. Never mind. Do 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 do. Also, another interesting thing that Keiko uses is that she adds some sort of like jazzy inflections into the piece. There's only like 2 really specific places where I noticed it, but where they do happen, I really like them. So like one is right here. You notice that little oops. You notice that little bum 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 where it goes to the So basically there, that's a little flourish that used in the minor scale, it used the 4th and the flat of the 5, which is those are notes that are very commonly associated with the quote-unquote blues scale, which as is known in jazz. It's that one scale of, it's like, if you know how to play a blues scale, then you basically know how to play jazz, quote-unquote. And it's that little blues note that gives the more jazzy inflection into that little trill. And there's a couple of places where that's used. One of them is being right here. Another I shall mention in the next section. And this section was pain. Going down another pentatonic scale in the right hand of the piano in order to emulate the more traditional instruments. Then going up in perfect fourths and fifths in order to also emulate just the Oriental style. And then this scale is also based on the major points of the pentatonic scale. You have the first, you have the fifth, and you have the sixth. And those are like the three of the key notes of the pentatonic scale, which distinguish it from just a normal scale. Lowered fifth in the scale in minor, it's a flat 5, yeah, sort of like, I think that's the way you talk about it. So it's like in F sharp minor, it would be the C natural, or the tritone, in a way. If I'll discuss the blues scale a little bit later when we get to the second section. Oh, you see, if you have to go, that's fine if you have to go. You don't have to stay for the whole thing, of course. Stay for as long as you want. The video will be up later on. The recording of this video will be up on YouTube and Twitch afterwards, so you'll be fine to go back to it later. Blues is based on pentatonic stuff as well. It's cool to see it mixed in with kind of traditional Oriental context. Yeah, that's how it do be. Oh, this was fun. That was fun. It was just basically going up the C major scale, up all the way, and then going down the C sharp mixolydian. No, not C. You go up the C sharp major scale. You go down to C sharp mixolydian scale. I think it's the one. Which is the scale with the flat set? What's the mode with the flat 7? But it's basically. It's really putting more color on the chord changes in this section by having the piano play like basically every single note in the scale. Like right here, the major. So since this next measure is based on the C sharp major scale, the piano plays every single note of the C sharp major scale. Then this next measure is based off of the C sharp dominant 7th chord. So the piano plays the C sharp mixolydian scale, which is basically every note in the C sharp dominant 7th chord. And there was another like very subtle reference, another very subtle half beat introduction to the next chord. The left hand there on the bottom note played one of the notes of the next chord. It's very quietly, but just enough so you sort of hear it and you sort of get prepared for the next measure. Oh, nice. That pitch bend though, oh, so good, and then he's like, oh, that's great, it's over, right? Nah, we got a battle theme coming up. So in this section, there's a very interesting chord structure that Keiko used in order to build the tension. So basically every single chord in this section has the fourth in it, and it has the major 9th in it. So like this is F sharp minor, but with a 4th added in. I think that's G sharp minor also with the 4th added in. That's A major with, that's a 6, right? Oh, close enough. And that's I think that's B major with a major 9 in it. But basically, it sounds like very dramatic and tension filled at this section as it starts to build up because of the extra like chord extensions that Keiko adds in order to give these chords some tension. Like especially like you hear that tension within like this chord right here. Like that it's right now it's playing a C it's playing basically a C minor chord, but that introduction of the low into shut up computer. I don't want to hear I'm low into space. There's lots of like tense chord extensions like that, adding an A sharp into the C sharp minor chord, and adding all these like extensions like major 6, major 4th and stuff like that, and just bring some extra tension into this section. And there's another use of the pentatonic scale right there in the right hand, the bada 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 bada. Now was a very awkward page turn, as you saw. I actually had to skip a couple measures of right hand because it was just a very awkward page turn. Here's a second example of the blues jazz scale. Basically, the blues jazz scale is based on the jazz blues scale is based on it's based on a topic known as a blues note, where basically it's a blues note. It's a note that's not exactly sharp and not exactly flat. It's supposed to be sort of like in that middle ground in order to build tension up for the phrase. And in order to replicate that on an instrument that can't exactly like pitch bend, like piano, what it would do is do like a minor scale, but they add in a flat 5, which is like, it's right in between the 4th and the 5th of this chord, but it's like right in the middle, so it adds that attention like, oh, it's not supposed to be there, and it's supposed to like lead into another note. So like, especially in this section, you have, in C sharp minor, you have F sharp, G natural, G sharp, which the G natural is not supposed to happen in C sharp minor, but because it's like right in between that set of notes from F sharp to G sharp, and as you can see, it's like here's a fast lick which goes from F sharp, G sharp. It's supposed to be like that blending, sort of not quite sharp, not quite flat tone that leads into the next section. And this inclusion of these little jazzy bits in the arrangement just I thought really stuck out. Here's one of my favorite sections of the arrangement. You have the right hand basically just wailing on that C sharp, because the C sharp right now is basically a prominent bell tone. It's like it's sort of like a bell ringing through the arrangement and keeping it going, whereas the left hand is playing everything of the chords. You see how it's jumping up and down to try to hit all the chords, whereas the right hand's just hitting that C sharp a ton. I just thought it was really interesting how, even with the restriction of having the right hand just playing the C sharps, it was the interplay of the chords in the left hand along with what's happening in the middle, like what the middle fingers of the right hand are doing, which helped to define the harmonic structure of this section. And here's a little section of 2 versus 3 where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. This was what? I think this was like tuplets against like the triplets of the... I think it was tuplets in the right hand versus the triplets of the left hand, which is also another way to build tension, having different time meters like fight against each other in a way. And in this little section at the end where like all the bits I mentioned earlier about how the flute and the piano sort of like synchronize with each other at a little bit at certain times in order to build a little bit of synergy. And here it all builds up to this section at the end where the right hand of the piano, the melody hand of the piano, and the melody of the flute are both playing the same thing. And I love how Gamer of the Wind's like added in that extra like percussive hit to the flute notes in order to emulate the piano. Also, the second flute part that you hear in the background, that wasn't actually part of the original arrangement, but Gamer of the Wind sent me like, oh, I really like this piece, and I felt so vibing with it, I want to just add my own section at the end, so if you want to use it, here's a little flute part that I decided to add in. And, yeah, so you can hear in the right ear, you can hear how he sort of tried to emulate the style of the arrangement going for it, and I feel like I did a really good job with it. Are we good? Are we going? Are we back? Are we back? Okay, so I accidentally dropped my phone on my Ethernet cord and I disconnected the internet connection and OBS for a hot minute. So yeah, you know, that's a yikes moment. To be honest, if the stream had ended there, then I wouldn't have minded too much, just because I literally just got through the entire arrangement, and it was just about to finish off the closing remarks, and then it like died and came back. But yeah, now I can actually get into some final remarks. So yeah, so things that you will see Keiko do throughout the Final Fantasy 14 piano collections that I feel like really helps define her style and makes these collections like really magical and really artistic are the so there's the use of there's a way that she's able to translate the environment of each of the pieces and translate the instrumentation of the pieces through the harmonies and different scales and stuff that she picks for the arrangement, like how she used Pentatonic Scale, she used very dense harmonies, she used lots of oriental based chord structures and chord progressions. She also added like dramatic tension throughout with some of the dense sort of dissonant but not quite dissonant chord extensions that she puts in, along with her anticipation of chords by having the left hand or different parts of the different parts start to play a chord like half a beat before the measure that's supposed to come in. And actually, wait, I was going to show a more defining example of that. Where's a good example of that? Wait, I think here's one. Yeah, here. It's like, so this is an A major chord, and it's going to E major in the next. So, of course, the left hand's playing A here. But one half beat before the measure ends, the left hand plays a B, which is the fifth note in the E major scale. And that fifth note was going to transition right down to the E bass line of the next chord. Ba-dum. So you hear ba-ba-ba-dum. Ba-dum. And that sort of tension that she was able to encapsulate by using both dense chord structures and also like anticipation through her interesting phrasing is very good. Also, the little personal touches she adds to like the jazzy style of like, as she incorporates every here and there, along with a very nuanced use of piano scales and arpeggios. She doesn't use them like willy-nilly like DS Music does. Imagine arranging like DS Music and putting an arpeggio every other measure. Couldn't be me. But she like puts them in places where they make sense, where they emulate the instruments that play those scales, especially like in this section. Like how the piano has to play all these scales and stuff in order to emulate the background instruments. And she makes them those scales. She plays just the right scales with them. She plays just the right speed, just the right amount of notes. It just works so beautifully. And also tension via the rhythmic, the sort of rhythmic clashes, especially like in this section with the 2 versus 3 in this section especially. And elements like that. And if you listen to some of her other piano collections, like you can hear some of these elements pop up here and there. Like if you listen to my Serenity cover, or like if you listen to Serenity, which is one of the first, I think it's one of the first tracks in the piano collections. Where is it? Do I have it? I can't believe I literally searched Serenity piano collections and my cover of it doesn't come up. But yeah, she also does at least Serenity has sheet music, but yeah, she also has those sort of like very thick harmonies in there, very interesting chord and scale choices. And it's overall just it's one of my favorite piano collections, to be honest, just because of the way the complexity and the simplicity like blends and balances very well to the arrangement techniques that she uses. Polyrhythm, or in that instance, hemioid, that's what it's called. It's not called rhythmic. It's not called 2 versus 3, red versus blue. The boys take it upon each other to beat each other up and be like, your rhythm is wrong. But yeah, something like that. And yeah, and that's just what I felt like, especially, well, along with the use of the shakuhachi, which is nowhere else in the piano collections. Like, in an entire piano collection, it's normally either all piano or a piano duet, but this is the only track with like a shakuhachi, and I thought it added a really nice color to it. And that, along with like just the tone of the tune, the different scales and different chords and how it just sounded all blended together, is what I really, really especially liked about this arrangement, and that's why I wanted to cover it. And yeah, hopefully I would be able to incorporate some of these techniques in my arranging in the future. Maybe you can even incorporate some of those even a simpler techniques, such as using like the blues scale, or like adding in some extra chord extensions in order to add some tension, or even just like the anticipating a chord 1/2 beat earlier sort of deal in order to have anticipation for the next measure. Would be very simple ways to incorporate some of the techniques she uses into her from her arrangements into your own arrangements. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this DS Dissect. It was a little bit of a technical issues studded one with all the nonsense we had to pull trying to get stuff to work, but I'm glad that y'all were here and y'all stuck through it. So yeah, stay tuned for next week, another DS Dissects next week. Make sure to hit follow over there on twitch.com, or make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. The like button is literally free. And also make sure to go check out the original, the cover that I did upload today. Make sure to give it a like, make sure to give it a comment, just so, you know, the YouTube algorithm overlords don't think like, this guy has not posted in 7 months, let us shadow ban him, hardy har har. That would be very, very much appreciated. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank you very much. We should have a theory session together and exchange the lingos. Yeah, I'm definitely looking to get other people on board, so it's not just me rambling on about things, and have other people's perspectives on theory so that they can talk more, he can be more educated than I am. Yeah, oh, let me know if any of y'all are interested in any people to show up. Interested in seeing any people show up on this. That'd be cool if I can get somebody else to join. And yeah, I will catch you guys again next week. Like, subscribe, and follow, and all that good stuff. And I will catch you all later. I do not have a fancy end screen, so I'm just gonna play. I'm just gonna freaking play the what's it called, the placeholder screen, and hope you all have a very good Friday night and good weekend. Talk to you all later.